What's up, guys? Welcome to DreamHack. I'm here with Rotterdam. This is Tasteless. The new duo is back, buddy. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. It was kind of a rough start, obviously, in the start of the morning, but the last few hours, I feel everything has been going very smooth. Yeah. I've missed a little bit of action of the mainstream because I did the last series on this stream as well with Maynard. It was good, but it wasn't Nick Tasteless plot good.
It wasn't that good, man. I'm glad to be back here with you as well, Rotterdam. I think we're going to be going right into this game. It's going to be Cham versus Jim in this upcoming match. And yeah, ZvP.
Yeah.
I think Jim should be the favorite here, but we're going to have to see.
It's a pretty bizarre round of 16 match. A Mexican against a Chinese StarCraft 2 player in the round of 16 of the WCS Spring Championships. I don't think a lot of people would have predicted this, Nick.
No, not really. But overall, this tournament has been fantastic. We've had tons of good games, tons of upsets. And of course, I think we cast what is probably the greatest series so far in this.
Maybe even the greatest series of the year.
Yeah, it's possible, man. It's possible. Let's go ahead and introduce our players. In the bottom right, in the blue, our Protoss player, it is Jim.
Good old Chinese Protoss surprised me yesterday very much by defeating Harstem in that round of 32 matchup. I really did not expect that one to happen. Jim was so much more solid than how I saw him 2 months ago.
You know, he's really developed a lot as a player here. In the upper left, in the red, our Zerg player, it is Cham.
And I have to ask you this question, Nick.
Yes.
Do you also hear the audience and the production crew in your ear?
I do. And actually, I also think just for production, I think I need to hear my voice and Roddy's voice turn up in my headset. Just otherwise, I'm gonna start shouting too much here.
Well, I hear a lot of people. I hear myself as well, but I also heard a whole bunch of people that I was not supposed to hear. So that made these introductions a little bit awkward, but I'm sure you guys at home did not notice a thing. Either way, I'm excited for this best of 5, mostly because I'm going into it with almost no expectations, like Cham against Jim. I looked it up. They apparently have played against each other once. Jim was able to win that series 2-0, but we're starting over here on Prior and Terraces, so I don't know. Take it away. Tell me, Tasteless.
You know, I think this map is always interesting. A lot of it does come down to the third base and the, you know, which is of course at the gold area. We already see this happening here right now. Let me see if I can just turn this up a little bit. Roddy, you can talk for just a second.
Oh, all good. So we see this drone trying to prevent this probe from being annoying and blocking this hatchery, but in the end, Jim will just decide to drop a pylon over here. I think it makes sense, guys. I've been talking about this already a couple of times, but you know, just disallowing the Zerg from going up to 3 bases this quickly, I think it makes a lot of sense. And now he's actually forcing Cham to go for this hatchery instead on the low ground, so he will not be able to take the goal. Jim let his pylon finish as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, he could maybe warp in from that point in time. A warp gate's a ways away. And I think I got some of that audio fixed. They're going to take care of the rest of it. But so to highlight what we were saying, denying the second gold base for the Zerg or the second gold base for the Protoss is huge. It's very important. Even though this game can, or this map can lend itself to some long games, if somebody has more gold bases than you, it's only a matter of time before you lose the game.
Yep, and especially because I know that Cham is kind of a crazy Zerg. I did not manage to catch all of his games yesterday. Actually, I think yesterday Cham played against Bly, correct? And he just like marched across the map with Queens, I heard, in ZvZ.
I was casting during that game, but is that what happened?
Yeah, I think. Is that what happened?
I think I heard something about that as well.
Oh, I mean, I thought you were saying like I casted that game, but you were casting.
Oh
a
no,
different game.
I was casting a different game when that happened.
I heard his builds were very crazy and were very out there, but at the same time, Bly also said, you know, he was feeling off, he was a little bit sick, but so maybe Bly wasn't on his A game, but I always just want to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
And for Cham to come here at this first very big event, actually just sniping this.
Damn.
Why did he let that
That's
finish?
a big blunder to lose the first few adepts. You know, the adept, it's a good unit because it can get away and get back in, but to lose it right off the bat, it takes a lot of the control away that you have on the map and lets the Zergs drone up like crazy.
I think it was a mistake right by Jim. I think it's one of these moments where you try to cancel it and then suddenly it just shades forward. You're like, nope, Come back here, but then it's too late.
You're trying to be so sick when you're playing. You get it like the last half second, and then you're like, oh no, well now I just look like a fool.
Yep, you try to fake out your opponent. You're like, yeah, look at him chasing the shadow, and I'm never even gonna let it finish. And then suddenly it jumps.
You're like,
oh, no.
aha, and you move it away. Except not so much.
So there's 3 extra gateways going down in the main base, and those resonating glaives are on the way for Jim as well. But I think that Cham has an excellent idea of what he's playing against. He's defending with roaches, which is the right thing to do on Pry and Terraces. I think this is all right. I'm excited to learn more about this Mexican Zerg player. I know Jim Rising relatively well. I know Jim Rising a lot better than Cham, and obviously we all know Major, and we know how good Major can be. But to see Cham on this stage is a little bit of a surprise to me, but it's also kind of awesome.
I've known Major for so long, man, back when he was just a baby. He was always a good player. But, you know, if you're on the same turf as somebody like Major, and there's a lot of other great North American players, you definitely have some high competition. So I'm looking forward to seeing more about Cham here in this game.
Let's see if Jim's going to let this one finish. That would have been an absolute suicide mission. And I'm glad to see that's not the case. This is an interesting follow-up, the double Stargate follow-up.
Which has been spotted by the Overlords here.
And even before him going up to 3 bases, even getting +1 already. Jim, what is going on? What is he going to do? Mass Phoenix, I guess? Or don't tell me he's going to make a void grab.
Oh my God, he let him finish. They got surrounded. Jim might just end up losing this game. He's not going to have Phoenixes out in time or really anything else to actually deal with this. And, you know, it doesn't matter if you delay him from the gold base. If you're throwing away units, and obviously adepts get stronger and stronger up to a point when you get a certain amount of them, but losing them like this, I think he's already lost, what, 7 or 8 adepts?
Yep, I think you're spot on there. I actually expected a couple of adepts to make it out of there because the roaches were out of position, but you were spot on, man. Those Lynx had enough damage output to just kill all of them immediately. And I think it's safe to say that Cham is going to try to win this game on hatchery tech. He's just going to make banelings, he's going to make more and more and more queens, and he's just going to march across the map with the slowest queen army ever, and then just keep Jim on 2 bases and eventually try to win the game. Well, we do see a layer started. Maybe that's in case he plays against Dark Templar, which is an option. I'm a big fan of the Phoenix Dark Templar shenanigans.
Oh, it's so fun, man. you know, I look at this, and here's what I'm thinking about Adepts when I see a game like this. Adepts are great at harassing. Adepts are great. Okay, hold on. Well, we might not even have Adepts. He's going to lose even more. He might even tap out, man. What is going on?
He has lost 17 adepts for 39 Zerglings. So that is the best rate I've ever seen for Zerg.
Adepts are great if you're harassing or if you're trying to poke around the map. If you don't have a lot of them, they're horrible at defending.
Yep,
you can shade away and you lose all your expansions, and then you lose them in the next expansion.
And because he lost all his adepts, he doesn't have an answer to these Zerglings anymore. Phoenixes are one of the worst units in the game against Zerglings, so Jim is going to be stuck on 2 bases. And the fact that he's killing a whole bunch of roaches over here, that absolutely doesn't matter.
Wow, with the Queens coming in here to use a transfuse, this push is going to be pretty scary. I'm not sure if it's physically possible to recover. You know, Rotterdam, earlier in this tournament, we casted the best series. I know, at least for now, we've also casted the worst game. This is a how-to guide on losing in a PvZ. There's so many queens over here now. Yes, there's a lot of Phoenixes here, but
and they've got +1 as well. So
yeah.
But the thing is, though, even if Jim defends here, he's not winning, and I'm not even sure if he can possibly defend. Photon Overcharge is great, but well, maybe it's good enough.
Maybe not great enough. Let's see here. The Photon Overcharge was coming in. He's actually managed to hold off a good amount of this. I think even if Zerg's attack failed, the real story is that Protoss never got enough ground in here to do that. I gotta say,
that was pretty bad, actually, man.
When I saw the Queens pushing there, I was a bit confused. I thought he was just gonna try to hit up against the front and do that, because I don't think it was, you know, when you lose that many adepts, you don't need to like take a risk here, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Like, Cham is on 3 bases against the 2 bases of Jim. He absolutely did not have to do that. He could just keep his units on the low ground.
Yeah.
Instead, he wanted to boss and fight in range of 2 or 3 Photon Overcharges. And suddenly, I don't want to say that Jim's ahead, but these Phoenixes are out of control when it comes to the damage. Zerglings are going to try to surround the depths one more time. Where's that Mothership Core? If Jim can keep this base alive, he's actually in a pretty damn good spot to really be able to.
Well, this is kind of a sloppy game here by these two guys. I like them both, but they've definitely made a lot of odd moves here. And it looks like Jim is going to be able to come out here and secure this. I mean, you know, he didn't have much of a ground army, but that many Phoenixes, you can at least take the fight. But yeah, just going back to that Queen push, I didn't think that was necessary. This is like, it's not a timing that I think you want to go for necessarily. When you already have your opponent throw everything away, you're actually taking a risk after they've already taken some risks and lost.
The guy killed 17 adepts. He could have just kept Jim on 2 bases and be completely okay with it. Instead, he went for the boss. He sacrificed all the queens. I do want to give a shout out to the +1 air weapons, which I'm a very big fan of, and actually makes Phoenixes like 100 times better. Oh my god, he's got so many queens again. He's already lost so many queens, and now he's got 10 more.
Man, well, he's definitely keeping it on to pretty heavy hatchery tech. Unfortunately, not enough queens over there to help defend that gold base. Meanwhile, a lot more lings coming down here, but it looks like Jim just barely has enough. What is this seesaw game, Rotterdam?
Well, I think that Jim is actually super far ahead right now, unless he decides to lose all of his Phoenixes, but...
Anything can happen in this game, as we've seen so far, right?
Yeah, actually, I'm not going to make any predictions, but the gold base, natural, it's completely mined out. Of course, the one advantage that Cham does have is that he can start mining from this gold base as well. But these Phoenixes, there are so many of them, they will keep doing damage. Jim is actually ahead by 16 workers.
We're also at the point in time in the game where there are enough Phoenixes out that Zerg is almost always going to be crippled over and over and over again.
Yep.
It's going to be hard for Zerg to stabilize in this game, even with this many queens, because the amount of investment in the queens itself, which is 16, now 17 by the way, a comically high number, is preventing Cham from actually developing the rest of the Zerg tech tree.
Yeah, I think that Jim should have just continued building more Phoenixes, because right now the queens start to outnumber the Phoenixes by quite a bit again. So even though 11 queens, this game has been a bloodbath, man. Like 11 queens went down, 41 adepts, and 233 Zerglings. What is up?
That is so interesting, man. Looks like Cham's going to try to blindside Jim here while Jim is focusing on micromanaging his Phoenixes. It's possible these Banelings can come in and do a lot of damage to these probes.
Let's take a look. They're slow Banelings though, but I don't think Jim is going to be paying a whole lot of attention.
And so many workers destroyed here. Huge plays. Wow. 13 probes taking out 17 probes. Excuse me. However, back here, it's starting to balance out with 13 drones picked off there by the Phoenixes.
You know, I actually think this is a very good moment for Cham to start attacking. With all of his queens, just make roaches and queens and run across the map, because most of the Phoenixes are out of energy, so he's not going to have a crazy amounts of lifts available.
And this is uniquely different from the queen attack we saw earlier, because the low energy on the Phoenixes, before it was actually quite high, the sheer number of queens he might actually be able to push in here.
Couple of Ravages as well. These adepts, he really should not. He's gonna let it finish, I think. He's on top of all these roaches. I'm not sure about this one, Jim.
Oh my god, he's gonna try to pick up all of these queens, but the ground army is just horrible. And this is possibly the sloppiest game I've seen with 2 players in this tournament. Actually, I'd say it's easily. So I guess the roaches and queens are just gonna try to push here. Again, Phoenix energy low. I don't believe he's going to slow down on Phoenix production.
You know, that fight would have gone the exact same way if he didn't throw away all these attacks.
I know, exactly.
Like, the Phoenixes would have still been able to kill the queens, I guess, with the right engagement. But now Cham is just going to throw away all of his roaches. Cham has absolutely no answer to the mass Phoenix. At the same time, Phoenixes cannot kill buildings, and they start running out of energy. I don't know what we're watching. This is the clown fiesta of the century.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really clear on...
I guess the Phoenixes are still winning?
They are, you know, it looks like he has enough that at least 1 or 2 is going to get energy each time. Also with the Sim City here at the base and sentries here, I guess he can just barely get by on a few pylon cannons here. But still, this seems to be pretty ugly as far as the game itself goes. He is going to lose some sentries back here as well as an adept. But does Zerg have enough to proliferate out more lings and keep doing this?
Now this is what I like. Get +1 on the Zerglings, because if there's one weakness of Phoenixes, it's obviously Zerglings. I also really think that Jim should go for a Dark Shrine. Like I know that some people will get angry when I say this over and over again, but when you have this many Phoenixes and your opponent obviously has no real good answer to it other than just queens, having a Dark Shrine I think makes so much sense, because it's just roaches and lings and ravages that you're dealing with and queens, and Dark Templars are actually very good against all of those units, and obviously you can always snipe the Overseer, but he's not doing that. Well, I think the mass Ling thing from Cham, I think that's absolutely brilliant, because Lings could potentially keep Jim on these 3 bases, and as long as Jim doesn't get a 4th base, this game could potentially still go on. But
yeah, I mean, I guess the important thing to note is that Cham still has more gold bases and he's expanding more rapidly. Jim is surviving, but surviving's not necessarily winning here.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be a new record in anything I've ever casted for kills by Phoenixes. this is an insane amount.
Look at this bloodbath. 314 links, 27 queens have died.
Well, I think the real crazy one is the 65 adepts that we've seen taken out before 15 minutes with a game with this many bases that's still going on.
And now he's going mass sentry. He's actually going mass sentry against +1 Zerglings. There are a couple of Banelings as well. You know, Burrow would be phenomenal because there is no detection for Jim either. So imagine if all these sentries start moving out and he has a couple of burrowed Banelings. Like, I'm just having dreams over here, but that's...
I wonder if the way he's playing this is actually intentional here by Jim. He actually gets so many Phoenixes because he knows he can just keep on taking out workers and using the sentries to kind of hold off everything.
And we're about to see the supply block of the sentry as well, because this Overlord farm has been found and it's going to go down. The Queens start hogging the Spore Crawler, but these Phoenixes with +1, they just do not care.
All right, well, I mean, these are all going to die. Everything over here is going to die. All the Phoenixes are going to lift the hatchery up at once for the first time in StarCraft 2 history and kill that as well.
Look at Cham, he has 64 supply left. This is it.
I guess the technique is you just have so many Phoenixes and you rely off the sentries.
Technical knockout by Phoenixes.
Yeah.
That's how I see this victory for Jim.
Crazy.
It's like, it's not really, like he didn't really knock him out. Oh, we see Templar Archive, so crazy, Jim. He's gonna, Jim has decided to spend his 1,000 gas.
He's gonna make a bunch of Archons, I think, and just push out.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be it.
Okay.
Cham, I gotta say, Cham was holding, well, hold on a second.
Oh,
Another
Jim.
attack down here.
If Jim loses all of his probes, he could still be in a little bit of trouble, but I think it's safe to say that now even the Phoenix is, oh my god, there goes all the probes.
17 probes killed. It's about to get worse, Roddy.
Yeah, but
27 probes killed. Hold up. It is now 14 probes to 17 drones.
What is this game?
It is neck and neck, but I think there's more utility in the Protoss units for this phase of the game.
I mean, the Phoenixes can just keep on killing Overlords and Queens over and over and over and over again. And like, Cham just has nothing to actually protect his stuff. Just nothing. This is ridiculous. What a ridiculous game. Cham really, this has been, you know, the game of trolls when it comes to Cham. He was so incredibly far ahead. Busting up the ramp of the natural, I really think is where it started going downhill.
Yeah, I think he threw himself off there.
But it is really cool. I mean, let's focus on the positive.
Sure.
Phenomenal Phoenix play by Jim.
GG. That was like nothing I have ever casted, ever. So, to just recap that game there, we had, you know, the delayed gold base there. Zerg had this odd moment where the adepts were feeding in, and I think he lost, 17 or 18.
For just
in like 3 consecutive moments.
For like 35 links. That's the worst trade I've ever seen.
But the problem is Zerg overcommitted. We thought he was just going to stay back and try to deny the third base. Zerg tried to end it by sending queens, and then we obviously Protoss defends, and then we were in this game where there were just too many Phoenixes, and because Zerg had made too many queens at a point in time, and nothing else, eventually the utility of the Protoss units overcame the functionality of the Zerg units.
Yep, and Cham was obviously super stubborn as well, that even after that first attack, instead of like trying to drone up and building more queens, he just said, I'm gonna try to make the same attack again. I'm gonna make more queens, I'm gonna stay on my hatchery tech, even though he had Leia, but I will not drop an infestation pit, you know, for Fungal. Fungal is absolutely phenomenal against that many Phoenix. I will not go up too high for Corruptus, and I guess you can say, well, it's hard to get high of an aggressive game like that. Maybe, but still, 2 Parasitic Bomb, and all those Phoenixes are gone as well.
Well, that and the Protoss only had sentries, so he can't go attack them necessarily.
And I mean, like, I like the Ling idea, but he should have done it a lot sooner, and he should have like stopped committing into all those roaches and ravages. Because like obviously if it's adepts, but just with Ling, Bane, and +1, you can actually deal with those adepts on the ground as well, and then you can just kind of ignore the Phoenixes. A ridiculous game, and obviously a game that Cham really should have won after disastrous start for Jim and after losing his third base, but Jim, you gotta give credit where credit is due. Getting +1 on the Phoenixes,
that was
super
huge.
smart, because that actually allowed the Phoenixes to win the battle against the Queens. And when it's Phoenix against Queen, it all comes down to the first big fight. Who wins? If it's the Queens, they will always win. They will continue winning for the rest of the game. If the Phoenixes win the first fight, then the Phoenixes will keep on winning for the rest of the game.
It's, you know, even though that wasn't like, I would say, the highest level of play, it's definitely a game that you can learn from.
I think it's safe to say. I think the interwebs won't get mad at you
Yeah, I
you
think
say
I'm safe there. That's definitely a game that you can learn from as far as how to approach situations. And by the way, we're going to start game number 2.
On the Ruins of Endian.
Let's see how this goes, man. I don't know.
We could see another Queen march across the map. It's possible on this map. I've seen it before.
It actually is very possible on this map. I don't think it'd be under the same terms and conditions that we saw in that last game. But, yeah, I mean, let's see what happens. Roddy, it's good to be back here with you, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. What is up with us in these weird games? Like, can we just get like a regular...
There's something magic happening here. Our games turn out to be pretty crazy in one way or the other. We're going to go into the game now, introducing our players down here in the bottom left, in the, what is it, purple, blue? In the blue, it is Cham. Not only did we learn about Phoenix's that game, but I just discovered I'm colorblind. Up on screen for you guys. It's right where we left it, so don't worry.
Actually, guys, you missed the entire best 5 is over.
Yeah, we're going to be back. We apologize for the delays here, and we're ready to get going.
That is correct, Nick. We already introduced the players, but I guess we can do it one more time, right?
Yeah, bottom left. Sorry, bottom left in the blue. Sorry, is Cham. Whoop. And in the bottom right, in the red, is Jim.
The Chinese Protoss that was able to win on Pry Terraces in a game that I guess we could describe as a clown fiesta, as they do this.
It was a bit of a clown fiesta.
Yeah. But it was a fun clown fiesta. I enjoyed it.
It was. You know, some clowns can be fun. Others are scary.
Yeah, I know. Most clowns are actually very scary, man. Like,
and some clowns are even sad. There might have been some sad clowns at that clown fiesta, but
even the sad clowns are scary, right? Because that's when the makeup starts like going down the cheeks.
Oh yeah, that's when it gets really creepy, especially in an old carnival that's been abandoned. So back into this game. Let's see what the tech is going to be here from Jim.
Jim is forgetting Warp Gate, unless he's doing this on purpose and he's trying to get a Stargate out. But stuff like no, he's just using the gas for a Mothership Core and a Stalker. All right, and then hopefully he starts Warp Gate.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Cool.
I was getting a little bit worried there because I guess you know this as well, that sometimes if you have a big break in a game, you forget to do the most important
man. I've even had that in a short pause in my own games where I'm like, well, that's weird. Like, why can't I? Oh my God.
Yeah, I know all about it. So, all right, hopefully these two players are ready to just continue the action. Game number 1, like we said, wasn't the most outstanding, flawless, high-level gameplay we've ever seen, but it was definitely entertaining.
Hey, I had fun with it, okay? Not every game has to have perfect play in order for me to enjoy it. So, going back into this game, let's keep our eyes peeled on the kind of tech. It looks like it's going to be a Stargate tech right out here in the front. Of course, there is a big berth here on the ramp, so you do need to wall that in there. Of course, it's going to be much easier for Zerg to find.
Pretty cool use, actually, of Photon Overcharge.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, use Photon Overcharge to knock down these rocks, which is going to allow Jim to go up to 3 bases at like the 3-minute and 30-second mark, which is ridiculously quick. And knowing Jim, I have the feeling this is Stargate into maybe another Stargate.
I think you're probably right. And by the way, you know, Jin really just plays differently than anybody else, and that's why I love casting his games. I mean, he really sees the game in his own way. I think this guy would be able to compete, and I guess he still can compete with the very, very, very best of the best. You know, the Koreans obviously at the highest level of play because they can train together in such a way, but if this was a different world and, you know, it was only in China that there was eSports at that level, Jin would definitely be at the top of his game because this guy really thinks about this game in a beautiful way.
Yeah, I like how you bring that up because yesterday his PvP build orders against Harstem, they were so different and they were considered to be inferior, but at the same time Harstem was not able to punish Jim for any of his crazy builds, and Jim got pretty much ahead in every single game, whether he really did something special about it or not, but he just got ahead just because his builds were a little bit better. Like, he went 1 gate on the arena. Nobody goes 1 gate on the arena. Even in the GSL, everybody goes double gate,
right,
you know, into something else. Jim got away with this 1 gate build and actually got himself in a really good position very quickly.
Okay, he's going to poke in with his Oracle, and he is making Phoenixes behind us. I do think you're right. I think he will get another Stargate here. We haven't seen that yet. It's just Phoenixes being pumped out of here. But, yeah, I mean, I could definitely see him going for something like this.
Yep, he does have 2 extra gateways, so I guess maybe soon the Twilight Council as well. But later on, to see him go for more Stargates, I think it's definitely a possibility. I mean, Cham's economy is good. He went up to 3 bases very quickly. He's building 12 drones at once. It's actually going to be double Robo, so I love it. I said Stargate, then I said Twilight, and it's double Robo instead. Well, so be it.
Yeah, well, this is cool, too. I mean, he's got the funds, right? And I think a big thing about Protoss in general is that they are trying in many games, but this matchup especially, bank up a lot of Immortals. Immortals are kind of the spine of the Protoss army, you know, and then the rest of the units around it, that's really the meat and the organs of it. But I think getting that set up early on is going to make for a very good push, and I think actually Zerg's going to have a hard time getting into their base.
Super awkward harass over here. I feel like with 2 Phoenixes and an Oracle, that's not something you see super often, but somehow Jim is making it work. He got 5 drones for free, hurts the economy a little bit of Cham. Cham so far is just doing nothing but building Hydralisk, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him go for a massive Hydra link counter, because from what I understand, the type of play that Cham is economy, 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 mass units, or it's just a little bit of economy, mass units. Like, he doesn't really think in like 3 stages, right? He doesn't think like, get a couple of roaches first, then I get a couple of Hydras, then I take my fort, I go to Lurkers, and Lurkers will allow me to go to Brood Lords.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any of that. As far as I know, he just throws units at the Protoss and hopes he can just end the game there. This is really good. Reducing the Hydra count against a player that wants to make a big Hydra push is awesome. And he actually keeps all the Phoenixes alive. Wow.
Yeah, it's really good. And the way he timed that out to get in there when there were just the 2 Hydras before other Hydras had hatched out, at least in an adequate enough fashion, to take out the Phoenixes, that was really good. I love what I'm seeing there, because a play like that is exactly how, as you were saying, you're going to reduce that push. And he's doing a very good job, Jim is, just moving around with these Phoenixes and trying to do as much damage as possible.
Yeah, +1 missile attacks is about to finish up, and I think the Hydra count will soon be high enough at every base that Cham can actually bring his units together and he can really start challenging this Phoenix count. Because Jim is transitioning. Jim is focusing on other things. He's getting +1 for the ground units. He is getting multiple Immortals as well. 5 extra gateways. As my good friend Jon Melle would say, le gateway explosion. L'explosion de gate.
L'explosion de gate.
Well, here we go. I mean, this is kind of the push that we were predicting, right? And it's happening. I think Jim, if he drops proper force fields, he should be fine. Does he have vision of these rocks? Yes, he does. Is he repositioning his army? No, he's not.
Not yet. He sees that, right? He actually does see that?
He sees it if he looks at it, but he's not.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, now he's moving his army. It's a little late, though.
Yeah, this is a bad position. You would have wanted to get over there long before this wall was torn down. The Immortals are not going to be too handy against Hydras.
This is so awkward to engage into, by the way, with this
Yeah.
Protoss army.
He's got a very bad position here. The Lings are actually arcing out. Phoenix is coming to the right side. I like that to take out these Hydras. Some force fields go down to stop the Hydras on the left from running away. And it looks like with another warping or 2, he should be able, with the Phoenixes combined here, to actually pick this up and drive this out, I think.
The cannon and Photon Overcharge helped out an incredible amount. Without that, I think he would have absolutely had no chance. But the DPS of the cannon and the Photon Overcharge is so incredibly high. But Jim still lost a lot. He lost most of those meat shield units. The Immortals were very exposed. This Immortal almost got picked off as well. I'm not sure if that was good enough. He doesn't have charge yet, and without charge, Zealots are absolutely useless.
Yeah, you might actually be right. Charge is close to getting done, but he definitely got in there. I wonder if he had a little bit of a better position there that could have gone a little bit more well off. You know, he never got this Immortal that was damaged into the back. He had a lot of opportunities to do that over here. And I think actually Cham may be able to breach him here.
That was super fast. Photon Overcharge. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was crazy.
The Mothership Core wasn't even out yet and he dropped Photon Overcharge already. But I think you're spot on, man. I really think that Cham is just going to have too much here. I think the engagement is going to be poor for Jim. And he had Zealots, but he lost most of them. The Archons will help out. If Archons get close enough, they deal a lot of damage. And, you know, if you want to kill them, it actually takes quite a while for these Hydralisks. So he's kind of trying to hold his own, but there is a lot more micro potential in these Hydralisks.
Well, he's still trying to produce over here. Right now, Zerg is completely committed to this and is about to have much stronger Hydras coming in. So let's see how this next attack fares. Granted, Zealot Lake speed is done. There are some Archons. Phoenixes are coming back. If Protoss could hold it, Protoss is going to have all the tools possible at this point in time in the game to try to do so.
Yep, a couple of Archons will get picked up over here. The Immortals still holding strong. One barrier does get popped. A lot of these Hydras actually do die, but I still think that Cham just has too much. Did this Archon just kill the Immortal?
Yeah, the thing is, you need to have Zealots with this. You cannot have just Immortals. You can't have just Archons, because the Hydras do deal so much damage, and it's really easy for them to target down stuff like that. So that was unfortunate to see there. Hopefully this next game there will be no other interruptions, but we're going to be going into game number 3 in this best of 5 shortly here. So sit tight, guys. So far, I like the way both these players are playing. It does not look like your average Protoss versus Zerg.
No, not at all. I mean, Cham is playing a very swarmy style. It's a massive commitment. He does have a fourth hatchery, but in a way it's all in because he's not going up to lurkers, he's not going up to hive, so he really needs to do a lot with his Hydra Ling attack. But it worked because Jim was kind of sleeping on the job. Like, yeah, he saw that the rocks were taken down, but it was too late. When he saw they were already down, that's the moment those Hydralisks got behind the mineral line. And this Protoss army, like especially when you don't have charge, it's so hard to attack into a Hydra concave because they're all just split up, and every unit from Protoss that runs forward just dies. So he couldn't really commit to the attack.
You want a nice line with the Zealots so that they're all soaking up damage. Zealots in StarCraft 2 are kind of funny. They're the only units where I think them absorbing damage is way more important than the damage they're dealing, or even if they're dealing damage by comparison. It's a lot of times for Protoss, whatever's in the back, and of course if you have enough Zealots to get in there and actually start pushing this back and making your kiting of the units in the back, like your Immortals moving away from the Hydra range, stuff like that, easier. But whenever Protoss finally got into that position, there just was not enough of anything there to handle it. And Cham had a good arc. He got in there. He took out the third base, and it's basically GG from there. I believe we're going to start this game right away. We're a little bit behind schedule here.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, a couple of breaks here and there. But I mean, it's all right. I guess as long as we can continue right now.
As long as I can sit next to you, Roddy, I'm totally fine.
Stop flattering me, Nick. I might actually get an ego soon.
Frozen Temple is going to be our map. Tell your friends to join us. I'm sure there were some people that left the B stream, maybe confused about what was happening. There were some delays with just some problems with the internet here. So we're going to go right back into this. It's, again, 1-1.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like how everything looked good over here in game number 2, even though it wasn't the best game ever, but at least we made it through the end of the game without any hiccups. So hopefully we can just continue this series, because I felt we had a nice flow going in game number 1 again.
We did. Yeah. This is casting on hard mode, man. Trying to shift gears and get back into it.
It is really hard, actually. You know, like you go from hype to, all right, guys, I'm sorry, to back hype. It's like, no, wait a minute. It's kind of rough, you know. It's rough for us as well. And obviously it's rough for the players. I mean, I feel even more for them. But hopefully we can just continue from this point on, and then we can forget about it all. The score is 1 apiece, so it's anybody's series.
That's right. Introducing our players in the bottom right in the blue, it is Jim.
Going for a very safe opening over here with the pylon on the high ground and the gateway.
Yeah, and a quick gas for that as well. And in the upper left, in the red, our Zerg player, it's Cham.
For a split second there, I was so out of it that I thought, is he sending like 3 drones across the map? What on earth am I watching? But it was just one drone. It was a drone on the production tab. There was a drone heading to the expand, and this was obviously an Overlord. Thought, I guess it's safe to say that I'm a little bit out of it, and I'm losing my mind over here. But it's all good. Everything is standard so far.
Probes moving through right now, surveying what the Zerg's up to. Protoss not going to go for necessarily, you know, the Forge expand. Well, actually not at all, not even necessarily. Instead, going to get that wall off at the entrance and then get a later expand here. This does allow Protoss to get the cybernetic score faster than some other Protoss builds that we've seen. And this is not going to be a tight wall in here. This is actually just going to be a filter entrance.
Yep, but I do like it. I mean, Jim's opening over here is very safe, and he even scouted. He's going to try to be a nuisance, and he will drop the pylon over here at this potential third base of Cham, which I always like. I really think if you can slow down the Zerg economy a little bit, it's worth it. We saw this on Runes of Endian. When he didn't really do it, Cham had a lot of drones. And even though the Phoenix harass was all right by Jim, and he picked off a couple of drones here and there, if you don't really threaten the Zerg in any other way, for every drone you kill, 2-3 more pop up.
Right.
And that's why, like, the best Protoss players in the world, they always do, you know, phases of harass, right? Adepts first, then maybe Stargate, then more Adepts with the Adept upgrade. And you just make it very hard for Zerg to actually figure out when can they drone, when can they not drone. But if it's just 3 or 4 Phoenixes and you knock down your own rocks, Cham is like, well, cool. Since you knock down your rocks, you're obviously not going to be aggressive. Go ahead, kill 5 drones. For every 5 drones you kill, I'll remake 12 more, and I'll be up to 72 in no time.
I wonder how safe this expansion is going to be here for Cham. It looks like we may be having maybe a DT rush or some kind of Adept rush or Blink rush coming up here. This base is pretty far out there. And you know, obviously Zerg ideally would want to have expanded where the pylon is, but this place located out here like that may be a target.
Yeah, it could be, but this will also allow Cham to be more aggressive to a potential third base off Jim if Jim decides to go for that. I think we're just going to see resonating glaives. Almost every Protoss is going for it.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if he drops the Dark Shrine like right below this Overlord. Like most likely it's just going to be the Adept Speed upgrade. Then still it could be dangerous, but I do think that Cham likes the scrappy games. Well, actually he's not researching anything yet. What are we watching over here?
Yeah, and he got his second base over there as well. And second gateway up there, and then the third gateway. Okay, and he's going to get the resonating glaives there just now with 2 more gateways up here. So this could lend itself to a lot more pressure here on the Zerg.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. There's a Roach Warren going down already, so Cham is already preparing for that phase in the game. But I think what's going to happen over here is a little bit similar to what we saw on Prion, where Jim is going to make a couple of adepts, he's going to try to force out a lot of units, then go up to 3 bases, and I think that Cham is just going to try to do something about it again, maybe with a lot of Queens, Roaches, Ravages, you know, basically all the good stuff in Protoss, or in Zerg Life.
And the Roach Warren's still coming along here. We have a few more probes coming up, and there's 2 Stargates behind this. So what he does is adept pressure into double Stargate, and I'm assuming this is going to be Phoenixes. It would only make sense at this point in time. Get those adepts out, start to do the pressure. He may even lock off his second base exit here and just make this all about the pressure.
Yep, this is interesting. Because it worked on Prion, so I guess Jim is like, well, you know what? Never change a winning team. There we do see already 8-9 Roaches on the way. Those could potentially be defensive Roaches, but it's a lot of defensive Roaches.
Yeah, and Ling's behind it, which is interesting, which can sometimes mean he wants to actually push when the Roaches are starting to come out. Also, guys, let's not forget that Jin lost about 17 adepts for almost nothing in Game 1, so his decision-making for that may be a little bit off.
Let's see if he's going to go for +1 air weapons again on the Phoenixes. It was incredibly useful. But here we go. This is almost Prion Terraces all over again, with the only exception. There are no gold bases here, so that makes quite a bit of difference when it comes to the amount of units
that may be just less adepts for Jim to lose in that case. We're going to have to see. He's making a few more Phoenixes right now. Now, he's banking the Phoenixes, so he hasn't brought them out yet. I'm assuming he should know that there's another base here, right?
I actually think he's very confused because he made the adepts, he went all the way over here, and then he's suddenly like, hey, you're still on 2 bases? Cool. I think that he's thinking about it.
Yeah, he's actually checking the top center, too.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit confused, Nick, and I think he's like, are you going to all in me? He's making a forge now as well, so maybe he's even more worried. The Phoenixes are about to scout this base, unless he's, yeah, there we go. So now he will know, and I would really wonder, what is Jim going to do? I think he's going to send the adepts over here, but then what is he going to do behind this? He's still on 2 bases.
Yeah, and the Spore is actually finishing over there, so it's going to make it a little bit tough for the synergy between the adepts and the Phoenixes to really spell itself out.
All right, well, Cham is going to try to surround these adepts. Is he going to let it finish this time? I think he might let it finish.
Yep, he's going to do it. He's going to run right by this.
So he's going to run into 8-9 Roaches, and then there are Zerglings coming in from behind. I do think that Cham has to be very careful about when he decides to engage these adepts.
Okay, he's beginning to back up now with these adepts. But the Lings coming here from this other side. And once again, so many adepts are going to be killed off here. I mean, I see what he's trying to do strategically, but this is just not working. Whatever he was doing back in the practice house is not working here in an actual game.
It's too late and it's too obvious, right? Like when you give your opponent this much time to be ready with it. And I mean, Cham is just going to make his queen push again. He already has 8 queens out. He's getting 3 more. This time he is adding +1 melee a lot quicker, which I think is very smart. And I think that Cham is going to get a very easy cancel on this Nexus again.
And
wow,
that's not good.
I have no idea who that guy is, but he should leave. It's not chill though. It's solid cast. I think that is Naruto. Big shout out, of course, to the crew of Take TV, who's always covering everything in German for the German audience.
Yeah, shout outs to those guys. So we're having another delay here. I don't know if this is universal at the venue.
You've never made it to a home story cup, have you?
I haven't, man.
Wow, Nick, this is like that tournament is made for you.
I know, dude. I got to get down there. Oh, hey, we're back on camera.
No heads up.
We are just going to have to wait, man. I mean, I don't know. There's been another delay. Like I said, I don't know if this is a global issue here, if this is just with our stream.
No, I think this is just this one guy. This is probably a guy that's not here.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think he's going to lag out, and then this game will just continue immediately. So I think we should just hop back into it. The admin has paused it just to make sure that both players are ready, but we can continue, guys. This one is not on us. It's not on the venue. So let's go ahead and jump back into the game because there is a crucial moment going on.
Now, just to recap here, because we've had some hiccups here in the process of this series, remember that there were so many adepts picked up. This was very similar to game number 1. And now we got this push coming up here, and these Lings 100% are going to be able to deny this Nexus from finishing, and that's a big win there for Cham.
Yep, so now the only thing that Cham has to do is not make the same mistake as he made before, and that is just suicide everything, even though I think he's got even more, and I think it's going to be a lot harder for the Phoenixes to kill the Queens, which is what happened on Prime Terraces, but so far it's just Lings, and he's just denying the potential third base, and this makes so much more sense. All that the Mexican Zerg has to do over here is just not overcommit. Don't suicide everything. Transfuse, transfuse.
Okay, he's coming down now. All these Queens are going to push in here and try to cover and transfuse on the other Queens to keep that number as high as possible. We do have a Baneling's Nest, which may be an indicator that there is going to be a counter push here, but let's also not forget in the previous game, he made about 17 Queens, and they were at times still picked up by all these Phoenixes.
Yeah, this time still, though, there is no +1 air weapons on these Phoenixes. And
that's true. I almost forgot.
And it makes a massive difference because the Queen have armor as well, so, you know, it makes Phoenixes shoot twice, so it has a very big impact on whether or not these Phoenixes have the attack upgrade. And I think what Cham is doing over here just makes perfect sense. I love it, Nick. Like, we were a little bit critical of him just suiciding everything up the ramp of Brian. This time he's just using all of his Lings and all of his Queens for map control and denying the potential third base of Jim. This is 100 times better.
Well, this is also smart because if the Phoenixes are the only asset the Protoss has, making only Lings nullifies the value of the Phoenixes. It's not like you're making Ravagers or something which can be picked up by the Phoenixes with ease.
Still kind of ridiculous already because the Phoenixes will obviously still find a way to do a lot of economic damage. They've picked up a lot of Overlords as well, but at the same time there's a ridiculous amount of Queens. Yeah, he's gonna do it again.
Oh, he's gonna do it again. He's coming in now with these Banelings. Connecting up here at the front, nothing that these Adepts can do.
0 splits were given by Jim, and that's actually a very big problem because this time I think it will work for Cham. It's like, yeah, that's great, Jim. You've got 100 Phoenix, but how are you going to deal with all these Zerglings in your main base?
Yeah, and I mean, the Phoenixes can come back here and lift, but I mean, the damage is already being done. 32 probe kills so far. And it's only going to get worse when these Adepts are actually wiped out.
Yep, and these +1 melee Zerglings are so much stronger than just regular Lings as well.
Oh, yeah, there it is. GG.
Well, it happened again. This is almost a mirror image of what we saw before.
Yeah,
this time, however, there was no ramp, so it's a little bit easier to bust it.
Right.
And also, Jim had like 9 or 10 Adepts standing there, and a couple of Banelings were rolling in, and they were just like, bring it on.
Come at me, bro.
We've got this, and they're hugging each other.
They did not have it, man.
No, they
did not have it.
That's like, these Adepts were like the guy that went to the gym one day and thought like after the one day, he's like, yeah, I'm really strong.
He's like, I've been doing a lot of push-ups, bro. Gets taken out.
Like, no, you're not ready, mate.
Okay, this series is so strange to me. We've had this funny playstyle by Jin. Some of it I don't disagree with, but he's losing all of his Adepts early. He seems to know how to use the Phoenixes to take out a lot of workers, but it doesn't matter if Cham knows that all he has to do is make a bunch of Lings because the Phoenixes can't be utilized properly with their lifts. And Ling Baneling, if the Phoenixes don't find the Banelings and pick them up, you're going to lose the game.
Yeah, obviously, like the main goal here for Cham is just to keep the Protoss on 2 bases. And if he makes like 80 Lings, it's like, wow, you've got 22 Phoenixes, that's great. You want to lift up my Lings? Go ahead. You want to lift up something else? That's fine too. Then, you know, it's useless. Like, it's just not helping. If Jim is able to do whatever he wants to do on 3 bases, then I believe it can work. Because the way that Cham is dealing with Phoenixes is also a little bit questionable, but I do love the Lings. And that's kind of what we said he should have done on Brian.
Right.
And now he did it on Frozen Tempo. And well, congrats to him. He's up 2-1 in what may not be the most beautiful series we've ever seen, but it's working for him.
He might be able to take this. We're going to have to see. And I think we're just going to go ahead and start this game. They haven't invited me, but I don't need to join in. It's not necessary. I'm not using this PC that much. By the way, thank you for observing for us down here. You're doing a fantastic job.
You know, I've had my fair share of experience when it comes to observing. Back in the days, there were no dedicated observers, so it was always me.
That's what I was doing early in Brood War, but I got spoiled after GSL. We got observers, so
I must say
I'm no good anymore.
And when they started introducing dedicated observers to the scene and to like the broadcasting in general, I actually was a little bit worried because I was like, I don't know how to cast. Like,
It takes a totally different style.
yeah, I know, because
Yeah.
like normally, like I always had like a little bit of a day 9 approach, you know, where
Sure,
you
yeah.
like want to box things and you want to explain things on the screen. I was like, I can't do that if we have a dedicated observer, guys. Like, I need to be in charge. But then eventually I started working with Funka, and I was like, hey, this actually makes
This
my
is
life
so
a whole
much better.
yeah,
Yeah,
this actually makes my life so much easier, and I may have to do like or I may have to take a slightly different approach to casting, but it's also 100 times more relaxing. So
yeah.
I just
you can be
embraced
much
it.
more articulate in a setting like that. In the bottom left, with a 2-1 lead, it is Cham. And in the upper right, in the red, our Protoss player, he is Jim.
Jim's got his work cut out for him right now, being down 1-2 in this series. It's a unique opportunity for this Chinese Protoss to make his biggest result in a long time. There was a time he made it to the quarterfinals of WCS America, which I think was 2013 Season 2. Obviously, someone on the internet can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right on this one, which was his first run ever. And after that, he had multiple finishes in the top 16. He had a great performance at the Inter Extreme Masters in Shenzhen 2014 when he made it to the semifinals. But since then, it's been very quiet around Jim. This would be a unique opportunity for him to say like, hey guys, I'm still relevant, I'm still very good, you know. I made it to the quarterfinals over here at the Spring Circuit Championships, but now he's actually down 1-2. And I loved his PvP yesterday, and he really pleasantly surprised me because I thought he was going to lose 1-3 or 0-3 against Harstem. But so far, I'm not a really big fan of how he's playing his PvZs.
Yeah, you know, his PvP looked really good. His PvP, that's another, or PvZ, excuse me, that's another story. We see that he's probably going to go for the pylon delay here. That would seem to be the case, at least. And there it is. Yeah, his PvZ, I see what he's trying to do, but the fact that it's working so poorly, I mean, it seems as though Cham just always makes sure that he has enough.
I almost,
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
there,
you're
but
fine. You're fine.
I almost feel that what Jim is doing over here, like blocking this pylon, I know I've said I'm like a fan of it, but when you go against Cham is just going to take this base, and this base means that he can build potentially queens over here, and he can spread creep.
Oh, that's smart.
Quicker towards Jim's base, and he's probably just going to do the same march of queens again, which is already popular on Dust Towers. And since it seems to be that he's a very big fan of it, Cham is probably not very bothered by this pylon block at all.
Yeah, now he's got to be careful not to let that pylon be there for too long for warp-ins later, but I'm sure he's not going to let that happen. But, you know, from here, I guess this is a shorter distance for the Adepts to harass, but it's really all going to come down to whether or not, you know, he actually has enough to do any actual pushing, not just harassing.
Yeah, I mean, and you were pretty big on this, and I couldn't agree more. The first wave of Adepts by Jim really has to do more than it's been doing, man. Like, he opens up with 6, 7, 8, 9 Adepts. The last game he waited for 10, 11 Adepts, and they did nothing. They just got surrounded. They all died.
It's weird, too, because he's actually ghosting on top of these armies sometimes. When it's like, it's not even like they were just caught off guard. It's like he's actually almost treating it like he can win this fight.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know?
Like, if the Adepts would have the upgrade of an Archon attack, then I can see it, you know, like shade on top of the army, and then everything dies. But
it's just so weird because, like, that's one of the more basic parts of StarCraft, is seeing your opponent's army and knowing what you can and cannot, you know, engage in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This time it is going to be a quicker single Stargate. He's going to open up with Phoenixes. I do like this opening by Jim. He opened up with the double gate, which is, I guess, very safe, and he will have access to multiple Adepts. But he doesn't want to sacrifice them this time, which I'm happy to see. Keep these Adepts alive. Because Jim is obviously realizing what went wrong. He's like, hey, I was stuck on 2 bases for the last 11 minutes of the previous game. Let's make sure I can actually go up to 3 bases and take the game from there. Because Jim is probably looking at these games and be like, if I don't die against this guy's aggression, I think I've got a good chance in winning this game. So let's just make sure I can get 3 bases, and then I shouldn't die.
Yeah, it looks like he had the opportunity to do harass if Zerg got crazy greedy, and once he sees it's not the case, then he just makes the Nexus, the Forge. And is that the gateway, 3rd gateway down there at the entrance?
Yep, and a Forge as well. Indeed.
Right, got it.
And I think it's going to be the March of the Queens again, man. And I wonder what's going to be the approach of Jim. But look at the queen count. He's got 2 queens on the way. He already has 5 on the map, so we're looking at 7 queens soon. Roach Warren before layer, well, it's going to be the same thing, man. It's going to be the March of the Queens. I pretty much predicted at the moment I saw this hatchery go down, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah, he does take out that one Overlord, but I think the March of the Queens, it's the right choice, right? Even just having another screen full of creep that you can push from is going to be good. And the March of the Queens may, if he does do it, work because it's going to be a double robo build. So you're not going to have a ton of other units. I mean, Immortals are great, but you need to have a lot with them, a lot of muscle on top of that.
How do you feel about how do you feel if Jim would just drop the robo bay immediately? Like, don't waste another second. The moment your first robotic facility is down, drop a robo bay and rush up to Disruptors. You think he can get him out in time, or is that too late?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I think Disruptors wouldn't be a bad option, but I feel like just the way PvZ is now, everybody goes for Immortals because you need to have a certain amount of them sometimes before you can get Disruptors.
I mean, what I don't really understand is that he opens up with 4 Phoenixes, but then doesn't really do anything with it. These 4 Phoenixes are obviously no challenge for like 9, 10, 11 Queens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that's the problem with this, right? If it's 2 port Phoenixes with, like, let's say +1 air, okay, send the Queens my way. Let's do this, but it's not. And so 4 Phoenixes can run in there and pick up Queens and buy time. And now we got cannons, which is generally a bad sign.
Yeah.
I know that cannons might help him last longer, but these are not other gateways making other units out of them, which is what's going to allow him to have a better army now. Let's see what happens with the cannons. Maybe if there's like 6 cannons up here and some activated pylons, he can pick up the Queens and back up. Also, Cham might see this and back up anyways.
He's going for it. I've seen this before, but cannons are absolutely awful against Ravagers.
Yeah, the Ravagers just wreck static buildings easily.
And even Queens, man. Queens can take a beating of cannons. They can start transfusing each other. That pylon does help out quite a bit. There's a lot of DPS over here, but it will all come down to corrosive balls.
And as you can see, he's doing so much damage on those cannons, too, taken out after only a few shots are fired off. The Adepts are thinning out, as it's going to be just the Immortals left over here. The last, oh no, 1 more cannon remaining. And of course, that's going to be picked up. And I think this is GG, Roddy.
Yeah, oh, well, he's bringing probes against Ravagers and Queens. That's a little bit risky. The Immortals do activate that barrier, but it's going to be hard without these cannons. 12 probes already going down. There are a few more Immortals on the way, but if these Immortals get surrounded by Zerglings, then it's absolutely all over. That is a good Photon Overcharge, though. That should be able to do a little bit of damage. I'd love to see some other gateway units. Like, Immortals are great, but what about a few Zealots or whatever, or Stalkers, you know, anything that can help keeping these Immortals alive?
Yeah, and he's making, there's 16 more Lings and more reinforcements on the way. And these corrosive vials are actually pushing back the rest of the Zerg army, or Protoss army, pretty well.
Decent hold, though. If he keeps these 2 Immortals alive, the Phoenixes actually start being pretty useful. The Lings are a big problem right now. You need something to deal with these Lings. And if he can deal with the Lings, keep these Immortals alive, maybe lift your own Immortal. No, he's not doing that. But is it a hold? I think it is.
You might be right. He's going to try to attack it again. He's actually got 10 more Roaches coming up here. He might pull the army back and then try again. Okay, so there's 2 more Immortals coming out. Now, you know, Immortals are funny because even the units they're not good at against, they're also not terrible against. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, it comes down to positioning, right?
Yeah, I mean, they are these beefy units. You know what I mean? Even if it's like, you know, a couple well-positioned Immortals against Lings, it's like, well, I mean, you know, if you got the holes clogged up at the entrance of your base, you might still be okay. We got more hatches coming down here, so I'm not totally convinced Zerg's going to have to counterattack here. Looks like Zerg may just keep the Protoss backed up and then just have enough of an army to defend anything that attacks him.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Cham to really tech up, I guess, because he's still on hatchery tech, so I don't think he's going to try to get Lurkers out anytime soon. He's going to do the same thing all over again. Jim is going to also do the same thing all over again and make cannons and stuff. Phoenix is being annoying on the other side of the map. It's going to be another difficult hold, but this time the Immortal count is very high. So if he gets a bunch of sentries out, he's swapping in a few more. I think it's doable for Jim, and if he holds again, then he's in a phenomenal spot.
I don't think Cham should attack. I might be wrong here, but I actually think it's much wiser to stay back. He's going to be on 5 bases, right?
Yeah, and he has a layer, actually. I was wrong, guys, so I apologize for that one.
Well, no, I mean, it is kind of a wonky game. We don't normally cast games exactly like this. So let's see. I mean, there's so many Immortals that it worries me, and especially with good force fields, he can just lock this out and pick his fights accordingly.
What I would really love to see as well is Jim to turn off the autocast of the barriers. I really feel when you have this
That's
many...
smart.
Yeah, I think, like, don't let them be activated by a single Queen Shot or a single Corrosive Ball. And I think he did that, actually, because the barriers are not activated yet.
Okay, so the Roaches and Queens are coming up here. Now it's really up to these other units to tank so that these Immortals don't take too much damage too soon. He continues to come up here. A lot of Phoenixes picking up these Queens. Corrosive Biles having some great connections though on those Immortals.
Yeah, he needs to be careful. I think these Immortals are doing fine, but don't eat those Corrosive Biles, Jim. That's the only thing you don't want to eat. Man, these Immortals are starting to run quite low on HP, but Cham has also lost the majority of his units. The Immortals do start falling though.
It is just Lings now being made to reinforce it. Some of those Lings are coming up pretty quickly. He's actually stutter step microing over here on top to see if these Ravagers can actually get in here and just take out these Immortals. No Immortals in sight, and there are Lings coming up here.
Yeah, so he could wipe in a couple of Adepts. He does not have Resonating Glaives, but I think if he wipes in the Adepts in smart positions, he should be fine. Phoenixes should be able to take care of the last two Ravagers. It's a very close game. Jim fighting for his tournament life. I still think that Jim can hold over here because there's really not that much left for Cham. It's just Lings.
Yeah, Lings are coming up now. The Immortals are coming out. It's already been 8 probes now picked off here. He has to back up with those Lings. Is he going to try to do this again?
Yeah, I think.
I think that's going to be the case. Now, a couple things to note. He is resetting the Protoss' army every time. Okay, good surround here. Phoenix is not here to lift up these Immortals either.
Nope, one Immortal might actually fall over here. Photon Overcharge not able. These Lings picking off 2 Immortals would be so massive. Good glimpse there by Jim.
So good.
I love it.
Okay, so he needs to chill out with these Lings.
Yeah, and let's not forget, +2 is about to finish up. Yeah, Cham is just massing Roaches and Lings and Queens of 5 hatcheries, but I think he's just running into a concrete wall, and from this point on, it's really not going to be broken anymore. Jim's probe count is super healthy. He's on 61 probes. I won't say drones, but he's on 61 probes. I think he's fine. I really think he's fine from this point. I think this is going to, well, he's still outnumbered when it comes to army supply, but with +2 attack against +0, I cannot really see this go wrong anymore.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I mean, he's gonna keep trying. I guess the Corrosive Bile. Yeah, he's coming in here, and I gotta say the Immortals are actually in a bad position. So this is really, really tough. Now notice he put those in the back. That means the Immortals are gonna have to move them to the front and then take those Ravagers. It's really nicely done.
Photon Overcharge could maybe save the day over here. One of these pylons does get Photon Overcharge, but
good Corrosive Biles though on those Immortals. It's really just the Queens here. And
not sure if this was a good decision to resume the battle, but it's happening. The Demolishment Core does get picked off one more time. These Zealots are very powerful. These are +2 Zealots, +3's on the way, but Jim did lose a ridiculous amount of probes, and that is the biggest problem. Losing the Immortals, that stings, but I think he could have recovered. Losing all these probes makes it a lot more difficult though, but at the same time, how much longer can Lings and Roaches attack into +2 Protoss Gateway units?
And it's funny because every time the battle finishes, Protoss has a little bit more than the last battle. You know what I mean? Last time it was just 2 Immortals and less Phoenixes. And, you know.
Lose probes.
Uh-oh. He's got to pull these, though. If he loses his workers, that's going to be a problem as well.
Yeah, because he doesn't have that many left. Like 40 probes is still something that Jim can work with, I think, just because of his upgrades. He's about to have +3. I rarely see games where Protoss has +3. He's getting a Templar Archons, by the way. I think that's very smart because he's got the 1100 gas in the bank. If he gets +3 Archons, it's all over.
It's all ogre, buddy. I mean, he's going to be able to do whatever he wants, and the Zerg army is probably going to crash into this and just be picked off.
I mean, Ravages, I guess, are the only units, right, that don't care that much about upgrades, because Corrosive Bow is good regardless of any upgrades you have.
Right, right. Looks like he's going to get one Queen or a Phoenix over here. He's going to keep pushing forward.
I think it's too bizarre this time, actually. 112 army supply against 33. Can Jim make another miraculous hold over here? He's going to wipe in 5 High Templars, so he could get 2 Archons immediately. He's going to try to get 1 more, but if if this was Heart of the Swarm, I actually believe that Protoss could still hold over here.
Yeah.
But with Corrosive Bow and Ravages, I am really not sure if it's possible. The Queen count is very scary as well.
Yeah, and there's almost an insurmountable amount of units with a lot more ranged attack here. Yeah, he's maxed out right now, and you know what? This is one way to wear down the Protoss. He's coming in here now, and I notice he's taking out the pylons with artillery here to try to do as good of a job as possible of making sure the pylons don't do that much more damage. And I think this actually is it. You know what? He probably got just enough drones during these fights to have enough to keep remaking. And really nicely done. That's going to be a GG.
Yeah, very well done. Yeah.
That was a funny game.
I mean, yeah, it's a bizarre game. I mean, I have seen it before. I've faced it myself multiple times as well. It's a hard style to deal with. I think that Jim got very close once or twice, but the Ravagers, they just changed everything. It is smart by Cham to make all those Ravagers, because if he does it with just Roaches and Lynx,
yeah,
against 4 Immortals, you're done. You know, it's absolutely not going to cut it, and Force Fields will make it impossible for you as well. So to morph 12, 13 Ravages over and over again, that was his one way to still make it work. And I must say, you know, taking that 4th and 5th base during those crazy attacks was really smart, because he mined out the main, mined out the natural, just transferred the drones. He was never super high on drones, like 57, but that allowed him to just keep throwing units.
I guess Protoss was mining out in his own base as well,
Absolutely.
so eventually the income is not going to be at the same. So that was pretty well done, pretty impressive stuff. Guys, we're actually behind schedule. Wait.
Just keep going for a little bit.
Okay, all right, we got a little bit of time. I just want to make sure we don't get too much more behind schedule here. That was an interesting play, though, and you could see, even though in the battles the story wasn't always told, we actually had, you know, it was the supply that really told it all.
Yep.
Protoss, I guess they were leaving with the same numbers of Immortals and occasionally more Phoenixes, but it's just not enough when you actually have that much of a maxed army. So here's what our bracket looks like so far.
Yep, pretty cool to see a Mexican player in the quarterfinals of the WCS Spring Championships. And it's not even Major, guys. Like, if we ever would have said that, then it's probably you think of Major, but it is Cham instead. Some people may say, like, well, he had an easy bracket. There is no easy bracket.
There is no easy bracket.
No, he took out Bly, who made it to the final of DreamHack Leipzig, and now he also took out Jim, who played great yesterday against Harstem. And Jim traditionally had very good PVZ, so well done by Cham. Congratulations to him. He's going to go up against Masa later today. And look at that, man. We're going to have at least one North American player in the semifinals, maybe even 2 if Neep, which is going to...
Turns out.
Yep. So this is that moment. We've got a couple of Queens being active over here, trying to avoid these Phoenixes, but they will not avoid it. But this is that one moment where we've got a lot of Immortals for Jim.
And we got to pause.
All right. Just making sure. I'm not sure. Okay. Well, it's
laggy.
Let's not do it all over again. Like, if we do it...
Please, God, no!
Yeah. If we do it again, at least let's do it right. And let's make sure that both players will have 0 lag. Because that's, of course, the most important moment.
Sit tight, guys. We're going to get through this game. Kind of a weird situation because obviously they have an idea of what each other have, but it's really going to come down to a micro fight.
Yep.
I don't think that in this case, Cham is going to not attack in here.
No, he will.
I think no matter what, he has to do that.
Like, I think he believes that this attack can work, and it can work, guys. Like, it can be the exact same thing all over again if Jim messes up in a normal way, as, you know, Protoss players mess up.
Or Cham plays perfectly,
exactly,
you know, without lag at his assistance.
Yep, so it's definitely possible that it goes the exact same way. It could even end here. But it's also possible that Jim defends because he has the right tools to defend. He's down quite a bit in army supply, but his army is a lot stronger. He's got cannons, he's got Photon Overcharge. We can talk about the numbers a little bit before we can continue, but it's +1 attack, 65 army supply, 5, 6 Immortals, maybe even almost 7, 2 cannons, Photon Overcharge against 110 supply of the Zerg with Roaches, Ravagers, Queen.
Right.
And Lynx.
And in that laggy battle, it was the Corrosive Biles connecting 2 Immortals. We'll see how well Jim can control his army in that instance. I'm really glad he's getting the rematch here.
Me too. I really feel this is the right thing to do.
This is the right thing to do. Yeah.
So, as unfortunate as it is for Cham, I think that justice has prevailed over here. So it should be good to go. There are no internet issues, according to the admin. So let's do it, man. Let's see if we can wrap up this series.
Back in game. This battle's about to start. Let's go.
Very, very big moment. It all comes down to how well will he split the Immortals. No, it's not good to go. Okay, Cham needs a second. Jim is like, really, mate? Oh, wait, my scoreboard is wrong. I just noticed that. I'm sorry, guys. Jim did not suddenly get ahead in this best of 5. That would be a little that would be a little too much. I mean, I know it's rough and all, Jim, but...
Some issue. We need to make sure that both players are actually going to be ready.
Maybe it's a hotkey issue. That could be the case as well. Maybe he already unplugged his stuff. Obviously, I mean, this is just an unfortunate situation. There's no other way to look at it. It's unfortunate for us over here. It's rough for us over here at the desk. I mean,
I'm okay. I like talking to you and casting with you,
yeah,
but
I'm still with you, Tasteless. So
yeah,
it
man,
makes everything a
it's
little
not
bit
that
better.
I just hope this issue can get resolved because this is, obviously a very vexing and stressful situation to be in for both players, right?
I mean, they traveled from all around the world. I mean, from Mexico to France, from China to France, and then the last thing you ever want to see is to see one of these two players lose because of something that's out of their hands.
I've experienced this playing in tournaments myself. I mean, it's really scary. I've had it where I'm winning and I, have to replay because something was deemed unfair, or when I'm losing. And it's tough, but this is part of, the experience of being a professional gamer is, this is not simply, we're throwing a ball around here. If there's a problem with the computer, the problem with the internet, we gotta work our way around it in the most fair and ethical way possible.
Even balls get deflated from time to time.
That's true. That's true.
Did you catch
But not
that?
these balls right here. We are ready at any point in time to get back into this. All right, I think we're about to do it.
Fingers crossed, guys.
Fingers crossed. We're going to get confirmation. They're both ready. Let's throw it back on screen because I think this battle is like literally about to start.
And it's a big one. It's a very, very important one. I believe one Phoenix died over there. Oh, my God. Is this for real?
Ooh, I don't know what's happening.
Nobody knows what's happening anymore.
They say, when you tell a proper story, it goes in threes, right? So this would be the great pause of the tournament story here.
I believe that we're at part 7 now, though.
Yeah, I think you're right. This is actually going to be a trilogy. So we don't know what the issue is. I believe for whatever's happening, you're not seeing the whole story on screen because I'm assuming there are admins beside each of the players.
I mean, we don't know what the real story is either. It's not just the people at home. We're just sitting here.
Yeah, we're in a different part of the tournament area. We're just watching the screen, waiting to see what's actually going to happen here. So, to recap, because I know we probably have other people tuning in right now, wondering what exactly is the deal. We initially wrapped this up with a 3-1 victory with Cham crushing Jim here. But there was lag. In two specific, very important battles. Yeah, a lot of lag. Like
we're not talking a small spike. But
somebody trying to move a slideshow quickly through here. And it was deemed that, due to micro purposes, the players couldn't micro perfectly, so we didn't get the most authentic, fair results. We discussed it, not we, but the players and the admins discussed it, and they decided it would have to be replayed from a fair point in the replay. And this is the first point. It would be the second battle. If you were watching the games earlier, this is probably the most pivotal point of the game.
Absolutely.
We're going to resume from that point, lag-free. I'm not sure if the pauses are due to the fact that the players think they're experiencing lag. We've had our admins say that it's not lag, but also it's possible that, I don't know if they want to resume back from the start of that point in the replay or what. But if we're notified, we'll let you guys know as soon as possible. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, we'll be able to get back into this game soon.
I mean, obviously, what is worth mentioning is that there was no lag up to this point in the game. I don't think there was a single pause here. Maybe there was one pause very early on, but after that, it was fine. And whenever it's fine for us, whenever we see the game as smooth as possible, the players will have it as smooth as possible as well, unless there is a PC issue. But there hasn't been any PC issues.
I think we're going to have to restart from the start of that where we went to last time.
Yeah, it would be awesome to get an update over here from the admin, because I'm not sure if there's like a disagreement about where they are. Okay, maybe there was a small glitch, I guess.
So
maybe
we're gonna
hotkey-wise or whatever.
Yep, so we're going to get the game open, get it paused, make sure all the settings are correct for both of our players, and then we'll be starting this game. Yeah. Who do you think is going to take this now?
I really believe, and that's why I actually felt pretty terrible about watching what I just watched and casting what I just casted, because I believe that Jim has the right tools to hold there. I genuinely believe that. I mean, is it a certainty? Absolutely not. It still comes down to execution, but that's how it's supposed to be, guys. The person who executes it better is supposed to win.
I think Cham still might win because he doesn't have a ton of Phoenixes, and if the two bases get up and running, he doesn't have a lot of ways to harass as effectively, assuming that Cham is going to keep making queens like this and pushing out. But we'll have to see. I mean, if Cham really loses this fight, Jim is going to have so many immortals. He does have the luxury of being able to push.
And he has the props to actually expand and just turn this into a longer game. Maybe Jim does lose, but maybe he loses in a much later phase in the game.
Right.
I believe if he does things right there, which is not easy. It's never easy against Roach Revenue, Queen Link. But if he handles it perfectly, I believe that he can make it through this battle without being behind. And that's what we're all about, right?
Absolutely. And also, for this entire series, it's been pretty wonky as far as how the games have gone. We've had a lot of Jim throwing away adepts early on, and I'm not even talking about trading in fights. I mean, he's just losing in a pretty tremendous fashion, but doing a great job with his Phoenixes. doing a lot of harassment work. Cham has been very reliant on Queen all-in timing attacks with his entire army. Not all of them have gone perfectly either. This is like a pretty interesting series because there have been a lot of bumps in the road, not just with the lag, for instance, but in the execution on both sides as far as the strategies go.
No, absolutely. It's been far from a flawless series, but it was a kind of a fun series, and that's why we just want to bring it to a fair end, because that's what it's all about. It turned out that the replay that we just tried to resume had a small glitch in it where Cham could not A-move. Now, playing StarCraft 2 without A-moving becomes...
That's what StarCraft 2 is all about, man, is the A-move.
That's how I made Grandmaster League, man. Like, I've never done anything else in my life. Just without an A-move, I couldn't play, so...
We're going to have the admins review what's going on with the player's computer. This is just such an unfortunate situation here at this tournament that it's gotten, these number of hiccups have occurred here, but... I believe for today, this will be the last game played, at least from what we were informed, unless it changes, and we'll tweet if it does change. This will be the last series played here on the B stream.
Yep. And once again, damn it, I want to say something, but I've just completely lost it.
No, it's fine. We just got to kill time here, man.
All right, now we can take another look at the bracket while we're at it. Now, this bracket is obviously different than the bracket we showed you guys before. The winner of this series will go up against Masa. And that is the one thing that we are fighting for over here. Showtime Violet. So I actually didn't even know that Violet closed out the series against iGuess because we were casting over here. That's going to be one hell of a quarterfinals. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, and over here in the bottom right side of the bracket, we initially had it that Cham was versus Masa. So this game over here is actually the Cham versus Jim. The resuming after player disputes and admins confirming that they side with the decision to resume from replay. It is being resumed from the point in time where the lag spikes began to occur, which unfortunately was at a pretty critical moment, right when the second big battle happened in the game, one that was not game-ending, but it was a crippling blow that I think we can all agree allowed the third battle there
to be as one-sided as it was.
Exactly. Yeah. Excuse me. So.
It's all good, Nick. And it's been a long day. Yesterday has been a long day as well.
That's right. I'm starting a little bit raspy here in my throat.
You're hanging in there like a champ.
That's what I'm trying to do. We're a couple of champs over here, too. I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to be the champ of this. Of course, if Jim, does win this game, what we need to do is then go to game number 5.
Yep. That's going to be crazy as well.
We might even have another game after this.
Yep, and maybe Cham still wins that one, and this was all for quote-unquote nothing, but it's all about, just keeping it as fair as possible. They're playing for so much money. Let's not forget about it, I said it before, they traveled from all over the world to come here, and then the last thing you ever want to see is somebody lose out on potentially thousands of dollars because of something that's out of their hands.
And notoriety, too.
Yep.
You come to these tournaments, obviously you want to win so badly. You train so hard, you want to have your very, very best games to show people who are watching and to prove to yourself that you're the gamer that you've always wanted to be. So
wow, that was beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Wow, can I write that one down? Where
you can write it down in the Tasteless Quotes book. It's going to be coming out in 2017.
I think that's going to be a tattoo right here on the outside of my arm. Like,
that's
become
right, man.
the gamer I've always wanted to be. And then like Nick Tasteless plot below it.
That's right, man. And then my tattoo of my face right here with a little heart around it. We're loading this back up. And it's going to just take a few seconds to recover. When we resume from this replay, the battle should be happening possibly within about 5 seconds. So not a lot of time here.
Nope.
It's going to be very important when we get back in game. We're going to hop right in there, and we're going to see, does Kem perhaps wait for a little bit more reinforcements? Does he jump right in? Jim is only going to have a few moments to try to reorganize his immortals in a way that can't be abused by Corrosive Bile. And normally Corrosive Bile is not the hardest thing to dodge. For the number of Ravagers we have in this game, he can kind of Corrosive Bile everywhere. It can be a bit of a spray and pray situation.
Spray and pray, I like it. I mean, he's obviously going to eat a couple, but the biggest thing is he's going to have 5 Immortals clumped up that eat multiple at once, or is it going to be 1 Immortal eating 1 at once? And that changes everything. Obviously, splash damage is all about hitting multiple units at once, and if Jim can prevent that, I think it's still doable. Obviously, I don't think that Cham wants to waste any time because every second that goes by could be another Immortal, could be maybe +2 being closer to finishing up, could be more Photon Overcharge. So
we are back. Let's throw it on screen. This is game number 4. Resume from replay.
I'm just fixing my settings over here. Best of 5. The score is 1-2 in favor of Well, 2-1 in favor of Cham. And this is that all-deciding moment. Nick, take it away.
All right, in the blue is Chem, in the red is Jim. We have some Phoenix is picking up a reinforcing Queen right now and make that 2. But the attack is happening over here.
Splitting up these units a little bit, popping a Guardian Shield, splitting up these Immortals. He doesn't drop any Force Fields though, which I find very troublesome. Now these Immortals are still a little bit exposed. Oh god, I don't think this is going a whole lot better.
Those were the connections he needed to have there. Fortunately, no lag spikes, it looks like, on this end of the fight. The Immortals bunched back over here. Behind the Nexus, the Forge, and the Pylon.
Yep, still eating very big shots. No more barriers either, let's not forget about that. Phoenix is trying to do whatever they can, but a couple of them still taking a little bit too much damage. Every warp in that goes could potentially help. No +2.
Yeah, and that was what was keeping him alive in many ways in that last game. Lings and Roaches and 2 more Queens are being produced, and really the Immortals, there's not many places to run and hide here, which is going to be another problem in of itself.
Yeah, I think the start of this battle was absolutely disastrous for Jim. He had all the time in the world to split his Immortals properly, but he didn't do the right job. This time he's going to eat a few more corrosive balls. 2 more Immortals show up though from the high ground, but look at the splash damage of all these corrosive balls.
Yeah, Immortals, when you can't kite them anymore and there's nothing in front, they just take too much damage. And with the additional Roaches coming up here, and we have some more Lings, Queens, everything. He's throwing everything in the kitchen sink at him up here.
Yeah, well, the Immortals will get picked off. The last 2 Immortals stand on the high ground, but opposite to the previous game, this time I think the game is actually just going to end over here.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think he really hunkered down, and that was actually, a great attack in there. Also, you were saying there were no force fields dropped here. That makes it a lot easier for the Roaches and the Ravengers to push in with the corrosive bile and deal all that extra damage.
Absolutely, and the wall-off was almost working against Jim. He had these 4 Immortals over here that were then just running over here, eating all these free shots, all these barriers being activated. Well done by Jim, well done by Cham. Jim had his chance here. This time there was absolutely no lag, and Cham just did it right, and Jim did not do what he was supposed to do there.
And this is going to be 5 bases versus 2. It's at 178 supply to 80 supply here for Jim. Jim looks like he's going to try to shimmy down the ramp, and that would be certain death. Of course, staying in his base is, I think, a death delayed a little bit longer, as he is going to run out of resources here in his main and his natural.
Yeah, but absolutely an inevitable death. That's what it is. After losing the Forge as well, the upgrades is something he had going for himself. It's not going to happen anymore. I felt that Jim maybe made things overly complicated there. All he has to do is just drop force fields and then just like rely on your cannons, rely on your photon overcharge, and you've got so much damage output in those crazy Immortals. But instead he was just running around kind of like a chicken without his head.
Yeah, with a chicken that was decapitated, some might say, Roddy. That attack was actually pretty nice, nicely done there. And you can see Chem is just going to go ahead, and this is like kind of a win more move, but that's fine. He's just going to go ahead and take some more expansions. He knows that the ball's really in Jim's court. Jim has to do something to get out of his base, or eventually his resources will dry up.
Well, he's going to make one final stand here, but this time the spread is beautiful on these Roaches, the Ravagers. Corrosive Ball is going to rain down from above.
Wow. And that's going to connect pretty nicely. 5 Immortals, the last stand here, and they all go down, and that does it. GG. After the resume from replay, Cham still wins.
Cham still wins. He even wins faster than he did in the last game, but it doesn't matter to me. I feel that this was still fair. I still feel that Jim had his fair shot right now at holding it, and it wasn't a certain hold, absolutely not, but last time he was just not able to do what this time he was able to do. Did it go better? No, it probably even went worse, but at least it was under fair conditions.
Yeah, I think so. If we can take a look at the bracket for just a quick second to reinforce the results. We already had these results earlier, but I know some people might have just been tuning in maybe for the first time. So in the bottom right side of the bracket over here, it is going to be Cham moving up against Masa. The rest of the bracket, at least for now, has been cemented.
Absolutely, and I think these quarterfinals look great. From what I recall, Polt vs. Elise is already going on the main stream. Game number 1 looked awesome on Frozen Temple. I have no idea who won it. But guys, everything is going to be on the mainstream right now, unless something drastic changes. But these 4 quarterfinals, they look absolutely amazing to me, and I can't wait to cast some of them and watch the others.
Yeah, I can't wait. So as Roddy was saying, just want to echo that. We are probably going to have the rest of the games on the A stream unless it is deemed the delay has been too long and we start moving some games over to the B stream. We'll keep you guys posted about that on Twitter. But for Roddy and myself, thanks for watching that. We'll see you guys in a little bit.